Okay.
Oh, wait.
We're live.
Approval of agenda as presented. Can somebody move the motion? Decima, seconded by Miguel. Discussion? Sam?
Through the chair to the board, I would like to move Penny's update, which is currently point number 15, up to point 6. So right after VP Ashton's resignation, I would like to move the executive director's update.
All in agreement?
Yes.
Hands. All in agreement?
Heads.
Okay.
Heads.
Disagreements?
No heads.
Okay. Abstentions? Perfect. Motion carried. Approval of minutes of last meeting. Can somebody move the motion, please? Mateo, seconded by Miguel. Discussion? Seeing none. All in agreement? Disagreement? So many abstentions. Abstentions? Wait. How many agreements? Agreements?
Agreements.
Okay. 3 agreements. Disagreements? Abstentions?
Yeah, minutes.
2 abstentions. Noted?
Yes.
Okay. Are you abstaining?
She's not voting.
You- She has her hand up. What's up?
Just wanted to clarify through the chair to the board. I just wanted to clarify if Samantha was at this meeting because I don't remember. Her name is here
Her name is.
You mean in the minutes?
in the meetings. Yeah. Or did you sack? Okay. All right. Never mind. Thank you.
All right. So motion carried. All right. Can somebody move the motion for VP Ashton B resignation? Miguel, seconded by Simona. Discussion. Discussion. All in agreement. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Disagreements? Yeah. Abstentions? Motion carried. VP Ashton B resignation accepted. Next, ED updates. Penny.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So I've got a few things to talk about, so I might kind of be all over the place a little bit more than usual. If you could just take one and pass it down, please. Sorry.
We're gonna present.
First thing I want to walk through with you is the financial statements as of March 31st, and that is this document here.
Okay. Now so many copies.
So just so it's noted, these are unaudited statements, so there's still quite a bit of activity that still needs to be recorded in the financial statements, but this is a fairly good, we're probably about 90% there, snapshot of where we're at March 31st as an organization. If you want to focus on the revenue, we were over $776,000 in revenue for 2 reasons this year. Is one is that we enrollment increased significantly than what we budgeted for in the spring, and also once the announcement came out January 17th about the changes to the ancillary fees, we put brakes on spending because we wanted to make sure we had some extra money left over at the end of the year. So right now we're sitting at just over $700,000 in extra revenue that we didn't budget for or we didn't spend. Okay, and then we go down to the activities column, and you'll see that we're showing a variance. So for all of the activities, the campus activities, children's Christmas parties, and what have you, we underspent by $142,000. Okay, and
Can we pass them on that to Neil?
sorry. And then in administrative, you'll see most of those are in the black as well, and we underspent there at $169,000. Okay. Board expenses, you still went over on your food for meetings, okay, but we spent by $7,000 in what we budgeted for. Okay,
7,000.
yeah, under.
Oh, under.
Investments, we $74,000. Media, $1,000.46. Services, now this is a funny number, $267,000. Don't get excited. That's because we haven't gotten our final billing for the domestic health and dental plan for winter 19. So that'll be a fairly significant amount of money. So that number will change. Facilities,
Also clubs, right?
sorry,
We still have to approve clubs too, right? That will also change.
The clubs. We have to approve clubs.
we have to approve clubs.
Clubs expenses?
Expenses.
Club
I'm sorry.
expenses won't make a big difference.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sorry, that just came right out of the blue. I'm like, because clubs is going to be talking about clubs in a minute. Facilities, we tightened our belts and we underspent by $64,000. Any of the underspending didn't compromise our health and safety or any of our contracts or anything, but this is just slowly putting the brakes on things and seeing where we could save some money. We also had some employees that, like Alex left us and we didn't replace her, so there were some savings there in the administrative column. We didn't fill all of the positions for our operations staff. There's small savings, but they add up quickly. You know what they say, pennies add up to something, right? Okay. And then capital here, this is the capital that you approved. We spent $449,000 of the $596, and so whatever's left over in capital will be rolled into our retained earnings or our reserves for 1920.
Justin?
Through the chair to Ms. Perlick, so the 726,000 will be used as a rainy day fund for the incoming years.
We're gonna talk
That's
about that.
what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So just remember, as I said, it looks like we have a $1.6 million in revenue over expense, but again, that's unaudited, and there's some things that still have to be accounted for. So, but we're healthy. We're on the good side of $1 million in reserves or retained earnings for 18-19. Do you have any questions about that? Chair, do you have any questions? Chair?
Go ahead. Trent?
Project to Penny. For investments in the Third Point College Student Alliance, is there a contract that we have in College Student Alliance?
Through the chair to the group, and correct me if we're wrong, it's in the bylaws that we have to give a year's notice to join, if we're going to leave the organization, so you have to pay a year in advance, like a year ahead.
So this amount is just to be a member of CSA.
Yeah. So this is the exact amount that we paid in 18-19, so last May when we got the bill to belong to the organization. It will be less this year. I think I want to say $84,000 or $94,000 for 19-20 because they've changed their funding model. Yeah, it's by size of school now, not by enrollment. Like we used to pay so much per person. Now it's in different levels.
Justin?
Through the chair to Mr. Stan, and as well as CSA has an update on that. Etc.
Go ahead.
Staff, do you have a question?
No.
No? Okay, great. Okay. So, yay. So that's great news. So thank you. So then if you want to jump. Yeah.
She's responding to you.
No.
So if you want to jump to this next document here, and we're doing this a little bit backwards, and I apologize for that, but it is the reality of what the situation we're in now. We've been working, Sam and I have been working with the college to determine what our essential fees and what our non-essential fees are. To be completely transparent, these fees have already gone to the executive team of the college and to the board of governors, and they have approved them. So I'm bringing them tonight for your information, and I'm subsequently hoping that you'll approve them again. But I want to explain them to you. It just, the timing, it's just been so quickly. So gone so quickly. So our student activity fee is $75 a semester. So we've with a lot of work and looking at numbers and figuring things out, we've decided to put $24 towards health and wellness supports. the bulk of that would be activities, programs, activities, and services that support health and wellness, and that comes out of the mandate from the government. Not social events, but health and wellness. And then with those events, how we came up with this number, we took everyone's salaries and figured out how much people's salaries go towards these things, and we put administrative overhead onto each of these things, and you'll see that. So accounting, insurance, audit, office expense, salaries, we had a formula that we added to these expenses. Okay, so this what this means for 1920. All of our events, programs, activities, and services have to be health and wellness or academic supports. Okay, and then so academic supports there, that's $23. That money goes towards supporting the work of the board, towards representation, towards all the work that you do on college committees, and advocacy, student appeals, navigating policy, and everything. So that's $47 that we are going to have said that would be essential that students will have to pay. And then next are the non-essential fees. So and each one of these groupings, like I said here, we'll have to develop policies and procedures for each one. And I don't know how that'll look yet, but that's the work we will do this summer. So student clubs and organizations, $4. Student media, that's for the website, the courier, and the student handbook, $4. Student lobbying, that's for CSA and the work around CSA or provincial student lobbying, $6. Legal advice access fee, that's so you can have access to the lawyer for free legal aid. And social events, so that's $10, and that'll be strictly like Friday night, talent show, dancing, social events. Okay. So that's $28. So how it, and then the other one, let me go up, then I'll go back and see. And then transforming the future is a part of our student activity fee, but it is one of our fees, but they've determined that to be a non-essential fee of $10. Okay, and then if you just flip it over, these are our essential fees that you all know, and they haven't been touched. So the AWC, there's a building fund of $75 and a facilities fee of $10. Student center building fund of $17.50 and a facilities fee of $15, and then our domestic health and dental plan is $75. They can't. Those are all essential. In the health and dental, that stays the same. If you've got coverage, you can opt out. So those students have to pay. So what will happen? And Sam and Karmajit and I went to a meeting a couple weeks ago. They showed us what it's going to look like. And so all has to be done by May 15th. When you go to pay your fees, all the fees will be listed and they will all be checked off. And so if you want to not pay one of them, you have to deselect it. So if you don't want to pay for clubs, you have to deselect it. We have no idea how many people will deselect fees.
Yeah.
So when we do budgets this summer, we'll base it on 10%, 20%. We won't know. We just have to play around with the numbers until the fall when we see actually what people are paying for. And then it's also it will be our work to go out and get people to pay for these fees. We do know one thing though, that if you pay your $4 for student clubs and organizations, and we use that $4 for something else, or don't provide you something with that $4, we will be audited and the college will be audited. So the college is going to be keeping really big eyeballs on what we do with this money and keeping it separate. The other thing that we can do is we can use existing operating dollars to still have a clubs program, still have media, still do these things, but that money's, we can use reserves, but that money's going to dry up eventually. So we have to look at how do we sustain these 6 non-essential categories going forward. The other thing, which is great, is in the fall, we start the whole new fees protocol process. So if there's a new fee that we want to introduce that's not here or that we're not providing now, that's when we can provide and we can introduce a new fee. But all the other areas in the college also can be a part of this protocol and add fees, and it can only be 20% of your total. Ancillary fees can go up. It can't be more than 20%. So if there's 10 of us putting in new fees, we're going to have to do some negotiating to make sure that everybody gets, not a piece of the pie, but that we're well represented. And that's why that committee is the 4 vice presidents and the president and myself sit on that. Also, what will happen is when you click on these, on the fee thing, the definitions will come up. So we're working right now on 2 sets of definitions. One technical definition, which is kind of here, like literally what it is. And then the second definition will be the interpretive dancing, happy, smiling, rainbows and roses, like this is so great, pay this fee. like some like videos and something more interactive and fun, so people can see really what the fee is for and what would happen if you didn't pay the fee. Not but what's going to be missed. And also, we're not going to feel any of the pinch of this until next fall or a year from now when a student comes in and says, I want the lawyer. Well, that's fine, but it's going to be $25. I can't, right? And then we're going to have to go back and say, well, if you paid the legal advice access fee, you would have gotten 2 free, it's just an example, 2 free visits with the lawyer. So in a nutshell, that's what we've been working on since January 17th. And it doesn't look like a whole lot when it's only on a page and a half, but do you have any questions?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Justin and then Tehran and then Sadaf.
Your chair to Ms. Like, what will happen if the student does not pay the specific non-essential fees? Will they still be able to go to our events or join a club?
So through the chair to the board, that's what we're gonna have to decide this summer. What does that mean? If you pay it or if you don't pay it? You get to go to a social event. If you don't pay it, it's gonna cost you $20 to get into it. But if you have paid it, you'll get in for $5. So for each one of these groups, we have to set policies. And we don't have access to college records, so we'll be relying on printouts from they'll give us printouts. So I'll have to look and say, did Justin Lim pay his club fee? Can he be on the executive? No, or whatever it is, right?
Wow.
Sam and then Tehran. Sorry, that's follow up.
Chair to Justin. So just also like additional to that, in terms of running these fees. So if we get, let's say, a 5% opt-in for social events, then it would be up to the board at the time to say, yes, we're running them, or no, we're going to refund students for that fee and not running, right? So that's why we want to have reserves, which we'll talk about in a sec, to be able to run those things if we have a low turnout.
Tehran?
So if students pay everything, even the non-essential, they will be like they are right now, right? Everything normal, everything.
Same as it is now.
Yeah, same as okay. So the gym membership is essential.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But Terrence, it's not the same as it is now, but it'll be different because we're not going to be able to provide all those things because we're not going to have the same amount of funding. Because if they don't pay, if you pay, that's good, but Ivan doesn't, then I lose like that, that 32%, 37% of my funding. So it depends how many pay, how many of you pay. Or don't
okay,
pay.
so that means that, for example, if a certain amount of people, no, but this is
Essential.
This is essential.
Yeah, that all stays the same. I'm talking about the non-essential.
Okay,
No. The gym and the student center, they're
Everything is good.
except, yeah, it's good. But because the student association is paying so many of the salaries and administrative costs for your staff to run those 2 facilities, especially the student center, we have to take those salaries out of our operating budget and move them into the student center operating budget, and we're going to have to see some savings there too, because that's our largest expense in administrative, because it takes a lot of time and money and people to do all the things that we do. So there's going to be more financial pressures on the AWC and the AWC. We've always had our staff there, but student center has always been in the student association budget, and that's going to come out a percentage.
For the non-essential, for example, legal advice. What if a major chunk of students opt out of that? Will we be providing the regular service because we have to pay a certain fee?
Right. So that's what we're going to have to figure out.
Okay.
So we may decide to take it from, always have it, and take it from another budget. We'll cancel our, some other budget to do that. Or as a lot of people pay, we may be able to get a second lawyer or have a lawyer at all 4 campuses. We may be able to expand that program if a lot of people pay into it.
Okay. And for the social events, or just for the non-essential. So what are we looking into? How we will get to know if the person has paid or not? So you said we won't be getting any data from the college, right? So we have to make our own thing?
No, we'll be getting printouts like reports from the college, but it'd be literally like a spreadsheet that I'll look up. Ivan Sharma. Oh, there he is. Yeah, he paid for the social event. For now, like maybe it'll become more sophisticated using your one card and stuff, but right now the technology's not there.
Yes.
Simona?
No, first you were right.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
So how is this possible? Like, if there are 50,000, almost 50,000 students, and if we have an event, how would we know that this person paid and
Again, we're gonna have to, maybe people that pay, we'll give them wristbands that they can wear to the events and we'll know that they paid.
Social event card. Something like that.
Students will lose that.
I guess your successor would have to figure that out.
Don't worry, it's not your problem.
The beauty of this is that every college and university in the province is facing the same thing, so hopefully somebody will come up with a great idea how to do it.
maybe the mic card which they get,
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
That might be able to be programmable. It isn't right now, but, and there's a cost to doing that too, right? And having swipe things at every,
Randy?
Through the chair to Penny.
yes.
So all students are going to have the whole thing about the building, student center progress. So all students are going to have.
They
access
still,
to
they
that.
all still pay for that. That hasn't changed.
That's essential.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, because that would have been
We have quite a few years of mortgage left.
Yeah, we owe just over $1 million in the mortgage on the student center and about $11 million on the AWC.
Okay.
You
So,
have a question?
no. Does anybody else have questions? So we're gonna move the motion through. Can somebody move the motion through? Mateo, seconded by, sorry, I didn't see it again. Simona? Discussion? No discussion? All in agreement? Disagreements? Abstention. You like that noted? Thank you. Motion carried.
I just have one other thing, is that tonight we need to vote on the recipient of the Spirit Award, which will be presented Monday night at our year-end party. And the Spirit Award is, you vote yourself for a peer who you think truly exemplifies what student government is and has gone above and beyond this year as a student leader. Okay?
Can you explain that?
It's just you get you get a
Yes,
ballot
I
here,
get that.
yeah, and then you whoever you think really when you think about the Centennial College Student Association and student leaders and making a difference and engaging students, who that person is, and you can vote for yourself, but a clear conscience is the softest pillow, and I'll know. No, I won't. And then what happens is that Monday night is one of the highest awards that we give out at the year end, and there's also a $500 gift that goes with that award. So I want to hand these out. Just give them. I know it's late, so if you can just discreetly give it to me before I leave tonight, after you vote, that would be great. Because we have to order the trophy, and it's a week tonight. So, okay. And does anybody else have anything that they want to ask me about my update? No. Okay.
Is it a motion?
Spirit Award.
I think I put an M on there. That's my fault. We just got M happy because anyways, it won't be an M. And I'm gonna keep one back because Dilsher's not here, and I'll try to find him to vote. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Penny.
Anything else?
All right, next we have, sorry, go ahead.
Does anyone need a pen?
I think we can discreetly just pass
Yes, I
pens
need a
around if need be.
Extra.
There should be.
Justin?
Here, you'll leave.
Um,
Yeah.
we can move on and then. So next item on the agenda is President's update. Sam.
Through the chair to the board. I'll have a quick update before I jump into the motions and stuff. So CCSAI Glow Awards. So I sent an email out. With a link to a Google form. So you can nominate any staff member, any board member, anyone that works for CCSAI for any of these awards. So the deadline would be tomorrow. So I encourage everybody to nominate your peers. Some of the awards are funky or funny. Some of the awards are like
Side conversation.
normal. But yeah, I encourage everyone to go on it, nominate your peers. It's a great way to recognize other people on the board and other people on the CCSI full-time staff, part-time staff, teams, and everything. The other thing is remember that your honorariums are due this Thursday. So honorarium evaluations and reports. And these are the last of the last. No?
On a clarification, do we have to make a report for the SGM?
An update. So how about this? Submit your April report and then
Present it as SGM.
present it as the
SPM report.
It's just the end of year report.
do an end of year report. That sounds good. And then we can present that at the SGM. Okay? So by Thursday.
End of the year report, so everything we're done up to now.
Wendy?
Point of clarification, end of year report this Thursday?
It's one page.
There's one,
It's
just
page
one week
long.
left after that, right?
You knew your honorarium was coming. You knew a report is
Yeah,
part
but
of the
not a,
honorarium.
not the end of year.
But it's your last report, right?
And
But
it's
the end of year is completely
okay,
different from
Rani,
our
it's
regular
one it's one page.
Does that mean that we have to describe everything, whole year thing?
Okay, so here's the deal. You're still gonna have to do the report for the SGM. If you prefer to do an April 1 right now because you don't want to do the year by Thursday, you can do an April 1 and then the SGM.
What is it? My suggestion was to say maybe the end of year thing, end of year for next week.
So this Thursday would be the deadline, as that's for honorariums. Thank you, Simona.
You know, I'm answering.
Okay. All right. So the first motion is President Buller recognition. So as you all know, I'm gonna ask everybody to please stop side conversations. Thank you. So as you all know, Ann Buller is leaving the college by the end of May. And so there's a bunch of farewell parties and stuff. And we wanted the CCSAI, she has been a great supporter of the CCSAI for years and years. And so we wanted to recognize her in some way. And so we're proposing that for CCSAI to recognize her, we start an endowment of $50,000 that goes for scholarships for sole support parents. So Sherry George, who works at the Student Financial Services Office, Penny reached out to her and she's recommending that she's saying that the one of the most needed scholarships right now is for sole support parents. And so since Anne is also a supporter of helping underrepresented groups succeed in post-secondary, we thought that this would be a great way to kind of put something in her name. And so Penny has the descriptions for what the just a general description for what the scholarship would be.
It's called the Ann Buller Perseverance Award. This scholarship is awarded annually to a full-time Centennial student who has shown resilience and perseverance in the classroom to excel academically and at home to manage their household as a sole support parent.
And so further details and requirements would be decided by the next board. Next, we don't really have time for that. In the summer, Emma Stone comes to the board to determine all the scholarships and everything. So this would be part of that process.
And through the chair to the board, this is a one-time endowment. That means that we won't have to add to it. There'll be enough interest every year to give a $1,000 scholarship.
And possibly in the future, because it has interest.
Right.
Possibly in the future, several years from now, it can be 2,000 or 2 1,001s for future boards to decide.
So it's like 50,000 and every year one scholarship, or every awards night one scholarship?
Every year, one scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah. And don't forget, this endowment gets added to the bigger endowment, and that's how all the interest grows on the endowment,
Yeah.
and it's spread equally among what awards need to be given out.
Justin?
through your chair to Mr. Desai, I would like to respectfully disagree with just putting it as a sole single parent. As a student association, we should, if we're gonna represent, or if we're gonna give it towards scholarship, it should be a more broader or like more, putting all the misrepresented or underrepresented instead of just putting it to one. Because what the their mission statement say? Sorry, I forgot.
To empower students through an enriched college experience.
Yeah, it didn't say a specific group of people, although it is seen as one of the least supported. There are also like other, like not as much supported groups. So my suggestion would be instead of just putting it into one specific demographic, put it as a more general, like underrepresented or you know, instead of
Penny?
just one group.
I don't disagree with you, Justin. It's but we already give this year we gave out 95 awards over $100,000, and if you remember the criteria for awards last year, we're all over, we're reaching out to a lot of, we're covering off a lot of underrepresented groups. What we could do is we could say to an underrepresented group and let Anne decide where she would like that to go. Like if we just know because we went to Sherry and we're like who's hurting the most from having a lack of dollars, and this social support parent was the biggest group.
Mateos?
To the chair, to the board, I agree with the idea of having and decide because from the perspective that I'm assuming, if I was going to receive a scholarship in my name, I would like some say on it. But I also would like to add the suggestion of that scholarship being flexible, that every year we always select the most underrepresented group. So for example, this year it goes for sole parents, and next year have 5 different scholarships for this category and goes to another category.
Penny?
You know, I think that's a great idea because as Sam just said, Emma Dunk, not Stone, comes to our meetings every spring and helps us break down that criteria. So we could still call it the Ann Buller Perseverance Award, and just to manage their, just leave off the soul support, but just to manage their be successful in their studies. I think that's
Good idea.
great.
What do people think?
So let's move the motion and then we'll still have a chance to discuss this further.
I'll move it. So
Yeah.
let me
Can-
just state one word.
Okay.
So move the motion to to start this $50,000 endowment to start a scholarship for with the name of President Ann Buller recognition or whatever.
Whatever.
That perseverance, which will go to the underrepresented group with the most need of scholarships in the current year. So each year will be.
That's beautiful.
Can I get a seconder? Mateos? Still open for discussion. Tarat?
Through chair to Sam. So does that mean that every year it will change?
So every year, based on what we hear from Sherry, is like the most the group that is in the most need of scholarships.
But aren't the scholarship consistent? Other scholarships. So if there is a certain group, they're already
Scholarship starts, some scholarships end, and then also the student population changes, so needs change.
covered? Okay.
Justin? Okay. Further discussion?
So
Tarat?
through board chair to
Through
so
the chair,
to the board,
to the board.
committee to board. So the person you said earlier, that's the person who will decide who is that group, or
That person would just give us the information of which group needs the most
okay,
scholarships.
so who will decide that?
The board.
The board will decide that every year. Okay.
Any other comments? Feedback? All in agreement?
One second, one more question.
Tarat, go ahead.
Through chair to Sam. So the name is President Ann Buller Perseverance Award, or what you said is longer than that.
It's a motion.
President and Buller, President Buller, Perseverance.
Take it. Okay, all in agreement?
Yes.
Disagreements? Abstentions? Would you like that noted, Justin? Thank you. Motion carried.
Okay, right now I'm gonna go to the points, the student interest initiative contribution before all the other points. So as Penny just stated, going through the budget, we have a surplus of approximately $1,500,000. And so it might be a good idea for us to earmark money to specific things that we want future boards to spend on. So we would ensure, for example, just an example, let's say we want clubs to run as they have been running. And so we don't want student interest initiative to affect how clubs run. And so the board can say, okay, we want to earmark $50,000 for the next year so that clubs can run smoothly. That's an example, right? So we can earmark any money, however we want it. Also we can say throughout 1 year, throughout 2 years, throughout 3 years. So we have a few suggestions, and also there are other suggestions that people have. We can review them. So the first suggestion is last year, the board had approved the renovation of the Story Arts office because it's not accessible and it's also just not necessarily the best built. And so we would be proposing $300,000 for that. Don't think it would cost that much, but that would allow the project to still continue. The second thing is research and analytics. So we're proposing $250,000. And so this would go for building a full-time staff portfolio and a co-op student portfolio that would do research and would carry on through helping the organization be more data-driven, help out the board, focus on their objectives, do research on their objectives or goals for the year. Also, we can decide if we want that to be phased out throughout 2 years, 3 years. And then I believe there was one more.
No, the fourth
Two?
one is, there's the rest of it to go back into return earnings for to offset.
So the rest of
Equipment and
the
everything.
whatever we don't earmark, so the rest of it will go into reserves, and reserves can be used however the future boards want to use it, sort of thing. So it's a good idea to have to save money in reserves. That way it can be used for whatever the need is at the moment.
Justin?
Through a chair, can you precise where are we pulling this money from?
So right now, if you go to the last page in the budget,
Total income loss included capital cost.
and we have a variance of $726. Sorry. So yeah, total income loss included capital cost. So $1,650,000 is a surplus. So considering the health plan, it would be approximately $1,500,000 of money that we didn't spend this year. So this is where it's coming from. Everything that we don't earmark will go into reserves, just a bank account that we can use for whatever we need it to.
I just think we don't have enough information and it's kind of late to be earmarking at this point. Justin?
If I may, I would, through the chair, I would suggest putting it in the bank, get it like sit there, get interest, so that the money that we leave still goes through, like, it's still earning some money. If we're allowed to do that, because then we're a nonprofit, like leave it in the bank and then as like earn profit.
As an investment?
It's an investment, just so that it's not just one time or like 2 year thing, but it's continuous.
I think through the chair of the board, I think we can do both, given that we have the higher surplus this year. That's what we do now with our reserves. It goes in the bank and it collects interest. But if we want to earmark, because we don't know if 37% of our students decide not to pay those non-essential fees, we want to use some of your money to commit to having carrying projects through. And that's why we're suggesting that we earmark half of it and the rest goes into reserves.
Mateo?
The chair to the board. I understand the need for us to save some, to pick some money in here for our own protection, but I don't think we have enough information about the initiative itself and how it's gonna, what projects the next board will want to continue, what projects we want to cut, how we're gonna manage the students that don't pay the fee. So once we have all that iron on, how we're gonna manage that, then we can start earmarking surplus.
Sam?
Well, Miguel had it.
Yeah.
Through the chair to the board, I also would like to add to what Mateo already said, to wait until we have the numbers of students who will actually opt out of the fees. Because I feel we may need this money, and if we set it right now, then we may need it later. So I prefer to put it in the bank, as Justin said, and get some in return.
To the chair, to the board. So I understand what you're saying about not having enough information in terms of saving it for later and then earmarking. So in that case, we would be putting everything into reserves. So we wouldn't be earmarking anything. Once it goes into reserves, Penny, for example, will bring to the board, be like, okay, we had 10 students opt into legal service and we want to run the service, and the board can decide, yes, we want to run the service and use this money for it or not. So that's why we want to have money in reserves.
Mhm.
Now I know there's not a lot of information or barely any information on the other two things that we want to earmark. However, I think it's still important to have that money, especially the reason why I think that data driven is important is because how have we made our decisions this year? It's based on what I know, what you know, what you've heard from this student, what we heard from this survey of 65 people. So most of it is anecdotal. We're making a lot of decisions anecdotally with not concise quantitative and qualitative data to say, okay, this is what students are actually saying, or this information proves that students are in need of food security, or students are in need of transit, or students. So if we don't have factual information, how are we actually making decisions to create services, improve our events, all those things? That's why I think that hiring someone who can help us build those processes so that decisions can be made based on data and help do research to find what our student needs, what are all those things. That's why I think it's important to have that money.
Karam, and then Justin, and then Miguel.
To Sam on board, what I think is that for that we can also use a relationship with other departments within the college, those who already do research and are specialists in that.
IRO.
Yes, and then we can see if the relationship will work without financial thing, or if we have to pay something rather than hiring someone within our department.
Justin?
Through a chair to the board, I really believe that it should stay in the back until it's really needed. Because right now we're uncertain of what the numbers are gonna be. Those data are gonna come by as like what Penny said, like the students checking mark and all that. It's gonna come by. Right now, all we need is to save as much as we can and then find a way how that money can still grow, because as we're aware, the current government is not gonna end after next year. We still have like 2 years, 3 years to come. And who knows what other changes they're gonna do. So right now, all we need to do is like save ourselves and make sure that our money is growing, or like at least have that money instead of investing 250,000 or 300,000. That's a lot of money. Might as well and I'm just saying.
Okay. I see 2 follow-ups from Penny and Sam. I'm gonna let Penny answer, and then Miguel, and then Mateo.
I think we already have reserves. We have some reserves. Remember, I presented the financial statements last week. So we have reserves. This would be in addition to reserves, but this would also be in addition to a legacy for your board to leave future boards, not just next year's board, by earmarking this money.
Sam?
Through the chair to the board. So I think what you just said kind of supplements what I said earlier. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how students are going to opt in or opt out. How are we going to track that? We don't have any staff member that currently tracks all that stuff, analyzes the data, all of that fun stuff. As of now, all the back work that came to build all of this was Brad, Penny, Wendy doing all of this groundwork, right? So we're taking away from the communications, marketing, and all of that portfolio to get research and analytics done, right? So if we don't have a staff member that is in charge of doing this, especially right now when we need it the most, to track all the data from the students opting in, opting out, students using the services. We need to know if students are actually using the services that we have, or if we need new services that students will actually opt in to. So I think like now more than ever, we need that portfolio in our staff.
Miguel, Mateos, Justin.
Really sorry for the board. I have to read all the time. I believe we will need it because, yeah, we will need to know what the student wants. If we want them to actually opt in to our service, we will really need to know what they want because right now we know all the things by our core belief, by what we believe on or what we believe they really want. But actually, we are not reaching to the full population of the students, and the best example of that is our elections. We didn't get enough turnout on elections, and we didn't get the big turnout of candidates for appointed positions as we would like. So that's one proof that we are not reaching the students in the right way. We need someone who can actually tell us what we're doing wrong and how can we improve to reach better these students with actual data, not with what we believe is going to work.
Mateos?
From the chair to criticize and Miguel, trust me, I understand the importance of data-driven. I'm a scientist after all. But by earmarking that money, we are basically ordering the next board to spend that money on that specific task. But if they decided that social events, legal, and student lobbying are more important and they are short of money, now all of a sudden they have a.
Whoa.
And I understand
Immediate
you're gonna
follow-up.
say that they don't know how they're gonna know whether or not, but that's not our decision to make. We ran out of time for that.
Sam, Justin. Please follow it up.
Through the chair to Mateos, that's exactly what I'm gonna say. Why would it not be our decision? It's our until we end our term. It's our duty to do as much as we can to try to ensure that the organization thrives in the future, right? So whether it's 250,000 or whether it's 100,000, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, whatever it is, I think it's still like I think this is the most important thing that we can earmark for to ensure that we are actually making decisions based on student needs, based on what students are saying. Yes, I want this service. I don't want this service. And just to, like Miguel was mentioning, awareness. How are we going to build awareness if we're pulling Brad to do data stuff and all of this and not letting Brad focus on communications and awareness campaigns and all of that, right? Because that's the staff member right now that can help us the most with this. So if we don't have a staff member doing this, who's going to do communications, which is very much needed right now.
Justin?
So especially in times like this, you don't really need to hire someone. This is the time when everyone tries to like delegate that job. If you're short of rice or something, will you call another person to like eat your rice, or will you like delegate it or something? Obviously, you will try to like spread the job of everyone, and it's not. I understand that we want to leave a legacy, but is really leaving this amount of money for the next work gonna like is in the best interest of students, or will the students or like getting as much money as possible from the money that we already have, even though we already have reserves, because we don't know how long this rainy day fund is. This rainy day is gonna be. Who knows? The conservative might continue for another time.
Okay. I I see too many hands up. Before I move on, I start letting people discuss this further. In the interest of time, how about, Penny, would you like to give us a proposal on?
I would like
22nd?
to bring together a presentation on the 22nd with some facts and figures and numbers and what it looks like to you, so that you have something to talk about. Something, and I apologize for this being last minute, but we literally just got these numbers in the last couple of days and we've been scrambling. So I'm happy to do that for the 22nd, if that's okay with Sam.
Okay. So
So just-
let's just table this up until our next full board, which is the 22nd, and we can get this conversation started after we have some information from Paige.
Point of personal privilege.
Yes, please. Go ahead. So board members, please, hold on to your thoughts. We might need your comments next week. We will move on to, what do you want to talk about next?
So, a vote of confidence. So we just went through it with the governance committee. It was sent out to all of you last week, Tuesday. So I hope you had a chance to see it. You can open it. I just sent the link again like 2 hours ago. So you can open it up in your computers. And so everybody who's not in governance, if you had a chance to read it.
Just now.
I know.
Okay.
So does anybody have anything, any concerns, any comments?
Year 3 BOT.
Yes.
Your mover.
So can somebody move the motion for a vote of confidence process? Whoa. Great. Miguel, and seconded by, I don't know which one.
I was first.
Okay, Randy. Randy.
You can have the next one, Jen.
So now discussion. Does anybody want to discuss this further? Does everybody have enough information to vote? Okay, all in agreement? Disagreements? Abstentions? Would you like them noted, Raman Justin? Thank you. Motion carried.
Thank you. Now, the next one is the general elections package, which we are reviewing the volunteer screening protocol. So again, if you want the link, I just sent it again. It was also sent last Tuesday. And so what governance approved last week is following. Previously, you had to complete one of the experiences under the volunteer experience protocol, and so government decided to make a change where you need to complete 2 criteria. So one category A criteria means that you completed any of these experiences for 8 or more hours. Category B means that you completed any of these criteria for less than 6 hours. And the requirement would be to complete at least 1 category A and 1 category B. So complete any of these experiences for more than 8 hours and any of these experiences for less than 8 hours. So the experiences are the executive member of the CCSAI Sanction Club, currently work or out to work in public capacity for CCSAI or taking work for a member of CCSAI. Worked as CCSAI sanctioned events volunteer at CCSAI events, as well as 8 hours more as category 8. Volunteer to assist college events. And then provided support to a staff member in delivery of programs. Participated in a CCSAI sanctioned focus group for those are the experiences.
Can somebody move the motion? Simona, seconded by Jem. Discussion?
Okay.
Go ahead, Simona.
Does, like, the person who applies for the position should have a volunteer experience in any of this, or should have experience of any
One in each
hours and the other can be less than 8 hours. So for example, if I volunteered for CCSAI for more than 8 hours and I volunteered for the college for less than 8 hours, I'm eligible.
So
Any other comments? Feedback? Does everybody have enough information to vote? All in agreement? Sorry, we are voting on voluntary experience protocol. All in agreement? Disagreements? Abstentions? Motion carried.
The following one would be
Yeah, but we need to go to conflict of interest.
so conflict of interest. Again, you can open the link. Actually, this one, if you do have your computer, please do open the link because there are things that forward. So during governance, we approved some changes and we want to bring them to full board. So the first change is under definitions, conflict of interest, we just bolded and underlined any, just to emphasize the word. We have shortened definition of private interests. So we deleted all the sentences that included that were naming relationships such as family members, friends, coworkers, etc., etc. We deleted that. And we added the definition for permanent conflict of interest. So the definition reads, permanent conflict of interests are conflicts which remain active for the entirety of the board member's term. Permanent conflicts of interest include immediate family members, current or former partners, current or former roommates, or housemates. Any questions on that? Okay, now under 4.2C, we added in brackets including honorariums, so it reads contracts and financial transactions. An employee or board member who knowingly has a private interest in a CCSI contract or business transaction, including honorariums. We also, in 5.1, so we added that point, which basically says how permanent conflict of interest shall be dealt with, and it reads, a permanent conflict of interest shall be reported at the start of one's term, or as soon as a permanent conflict of interest arises. Any change in the status of a conflict must be declared. So if you enter in a relationship or you become someone's roommate, you need to declare it at the point. If you have a conflict, as soon as you start the board, you need to declare it. And then under 5.5, we added the word themselves, so it reads, any board member who perceives themselves or another board member to be in conflict of interest in a matter under consideration shall raise this concern directly and immediately with the executive director. And those are all the changes that we have.
No. The one that you said, contracts and financial transactions. So I didn't understand the point.
In the sentence.
Yeah.
So these are, this is one of the grounds for which there might be a conflict of interest. And so if you have a private interest in a contract or business transaction, so for example, if your sibling has an events company and you have a private interest in using that event company, or
Not, there's the one who's written there. It's not that. I'm forgetting what it was.
Through the chair to Sam, what does permanent conflict means?
We just added it to the conflict of interest. Permanent conflict of interest will be family members.
so conflicts which remain active for the entirety of the board member's term. So a permanent conflict of interest is a conflict of interest that will be active for the full year, during all meetings, during all.
So how will it look like? Like, can you just tell me a little bit?
Yeah, so for example, when you have a meeting, if there's an agenda, let's say Sadak and I are roommates. So So if we have a meeting, there's an agenda item that I want to run for president. So we already know because it's permanent that can't go to me.
Okay, so,
Or if I just want to ask for funding, that can't go to me.
so it goes according to agenda.
Agenda for board meetings. Also, if there is anything under policy, yeah, so under 4, which is the policy where it's explaining all the things that can arise from conflict. Any of these that arise from like a permanent conflict of interest are like it's like present, so people are aware of it, and they can raise any of these conflicts with any. Either questions or comments?
Okay, so does everybody have enough information to vote? All right, so let's, somebody move the motion to, is that a question or you're moving?
We have to wait for Jen.
But we're moving. And we approved it already. Moving? Okay, let's try it again. Somebody move the motion, Samora, second, Santiago, discussion. Ron, can you do me a favor? Can you please check for Jima and tell her we need. her?
Voting.
So, are voting on approving, conflict of interest. All in favor? Any disagreement? Abstention. Motion carried.
The elections policy. This is also approved by our governance committee. And the only change here, and the document all changes in red were approved in our previous full board. The only change here that needs to be approved is the wording under 6.5. So we have just added the reference to the vote of confidence rubric, which we just approved. So it reads, board shall move a camera to conduct the vote following the guidelines specified in the vote of confidence rubric, which shall be administered by the executive director and the board development officer and done by secret ballot. So that's the only change.
Questions? Discussion? Okay. Can somebody move the motion to approve election policy amendment?
Hold on.
Yes.
You're the chair to the board. I thought we have removed the currently working or have worked part-time capacity for the CCSAI.
And then rubric?
For the general election package, the category, under category 8, because we have agreed from our last governance meeting that working is not volunteering.
So we can, yeah, so we'll talk 6 minutes and we'll delete it. That was approved, right? So if it's approved, we'll delete it, which I think it is, so we'll just confirm reference at the moment. Any questions for election policy?
Okay, all in agreement? Sir, go ahead.
Your chair to the chair. Showing the document reflect what was here approved before we approve it because it's like conflicting with our own position. I mean, our own position.
Well, I think it's about the minutes there somewhere else. For everything.
I got them this afternoon.
You want to April 8th, sorry, I don't know. April 8th is right here.
Just sent them to, like at 8:30.
Instead of resolving.
We just added the time. And it's the same time document. You should be able to do that modification themselves. You just click on that modification. So that's like all the way at the top of the document next to the tabs below the title of it.
And
So this was. So they suggested removing wording stating that the candidate is currently working with CCSAI and is not considered voluntary experience. Here's not reading from the document. So we will remove it. We did, we put CISA as well as people college within for programming.
which one are you looking at?
The one that was in the
Let's see for approval.
I let you know about the regular travel. Mark, because I remember we added the CISA.
Yeah.
So you want to go later and do the changes. I guess the policies that. I wasn't sure it wasn't up to this. Well, we already. This document. So, questions, comments?
Okay, so we need to move this first. Can somebody move the motion? Simona, that's seconded by Jem. Okay, now.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
No? Everybody has enough information to vote? Okay, let's go ahead and do it. All in agreement? Disagreement?
I'm sorry.
Were you for disagreement? Okay, so disagreement? Abstention? Motion carried. Next we have. So as we don't have a representative from college or. Yes. Oh, okay, so we do have to approve them, right? Okay, sorry, my mistake, so we did approve some bylaw amendments at our governance meeting on March 11th. We will be, the bylaw amendment motion is present on the agenda, so we will go through it. Can somebody move the motion? Justin, seconded by Miguel. Discussion. Everybody has the link for bylaws, right? So
To the chair to the committee. So this is also a link. You can open it if you want. This was approved by governance. And the only change is that we are separating the eligibility
Yes.
criteria so it's more clear. So it went from having one eligibility section that it described eligibility to run and to serve on the board for all board members. We divided to eligibility to run for the board and eligibility to serve on the board for board members, and then eligibility to run for the board and eligibility to serve on the board for the president, just to avoid loopholes that were there previously. So
everybody has read them? Yes? Okay. Does everybody have enough information to vote? I'm looking at you. Can somebody move the motion to approve the bylaw amendments? Pardon? What?
The motion.
Yeah, just the first
yeah,
one.
they motion.
Oh,
Come
So-
on.
sorry. We already did discussion. So all in agreement? All in agreement? It's been a long day. Disagreements? Abstentions? Okay, motion carried. Woo!
I think we deserve a clap, all of us.
Yeah. No. No. All right. Okay. So moving on. We don't have a college rep, so we will skip the Centennial College update. Next, we have vice president updates. Karam, you're first. Morningside updates.
Morning.
Sorry, progress.
Been a
Progress.
long
It has been a long
day.
day. I'm sorry.
It is.
Progress.
I don't have any
It's the first time.
Okay. Jasima,
Not really.
Mr. Lim. For Morningside, do you?
For Morningside, we just had our Morningside appreciation, and so we had all the teams and everything. Matthias and Justina were present. We're also wrapping up whatever on Morningside, preparing the incoming VP and CD, introducing them to the important stakeholders. That is also written in the transition document, just so that it's more the transition is more flowy. And on a side note, I haven't seen my campus director in the office. I haven't signed his honorarium last month, so I'm not 100% sure what's really going on. And I believe this is the third meeting he has missed. So, yeah, I don't know if I can have the campus director start this one.
Feedback? Jasima?
Not feedback, but more with it, if you need an extra hand, if your foreign and counterparts are not available. We're quiet, so just let me know.
It's just that it's in your bylaw.
Yep.
I think you can meetings to automatically remove from the
Yep.
board, even though there's 1 or 2 weeks left. Or
Okay.
3 weeks.
Perfect, thank you. Advocate updates. Mateos?
Okay, through the chair to the board, cases are picking up. You might start receiving cases now. There's a tip sheet that we have on every campus. If your campus ran out, please let me know. It lines up what is great appeal process, what's the grounds for great appeal. Any questions you can ask us. Great appeal clinics is gonna be on the 15th, 29th, 30th of April, 3rd and 7th of May. I sent an email today with all the information. Again, you can ask me or Miguel for any additional information. We would love your support on those clinics, because things are about to go down. So that's it.
It's only what? What's the
Questions or feedback?
date? Sorry.
What?
nothing.
Yes, Simona?
through board,
Through the chair.
through chair to.
Mateos?
Yeah, so.
Wasn't it today?
There was one today, through the chair to the board. There was one today at Progress that was more of a experimental one. We had a whole lot of 5 students, so.
A whole lot of.
At least.
And when's the next one? There's the follow-up question. I know you gave all the dates, it's just for.
It's on the email, all the dates and times is always from 12 to 2. It's 29, 30 of April, 3 and 7. 3rd and 7th.
Justin?
Through chair to Mr. Andrade. I just want to know when the 10-day period starts. On the 24th, on the 25th. The grades will be released on the 24th.
Officially, Miguel can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think our calendar states that 26 would be the last day for grade release. That would mean 10 days from now, from that.
Business days.
10 business days
Mhm.
from that. So it would run until about 10 of the next month.
10. That's 10 days. Miguel?
The short Justin is 25th. That's the day that the grades are actually positive. So the professors have the deadline on the 24th. That's the last day that they have to submit the grades. 25 is the day that the report is going to be available for you in Mexico.
So it starts PLC.
Mhm.
So it starts on the 25th. So you count day 1 as 25th.
26. Okay. Yeah, that's your first day. That's your first 24 hours.
Okay, Miguel?
And then 15th
Also, you're up next for your update.
Through the share to the board, there's not much to do. I already Matt say everything, so yeah.
That's good to hear. At this moment, I would like to pass my chair to our next soon-to-be video, Mateos.
So I would like to call Salah for her updates on governance update.
So for my governance updates, everything has just been laid out in front of all of you. We've passed a lot of motions, wrapping up a lot of things, and that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for me?
With that, I would like to pass the chair back to.
Thank you. Next, can we have athletics rep updates, please, Paige?
Yes, you can do the chairs to the board. So I had my nutrition event, that went well. We had the athletic banquet, that went well, and got an award, that was nice. And I'm done.
So shout outs to both Taran and Paige for awards.
Okay, club liaison update.
Through the chair to the board. We're coming down to the wire when it comes down to club events. So this week is the last week for clubs to have any events. Next week, Friday, is the last day for clubs to submit any receipts for reimbursements. Club of the Year has, thank you first, let me thank the ad hoc committee for doing that quick sweep and giving me the Club of the Year, which is the Anime Guild. Next week, I am going to be going to the company to get the plaque done and hopefully have it in Clubland by the end of the month. And I've been going through transitioning with the upcoming club liaison. That is it.
Thank you, Randine. Programming update, Simona?
Yes, I have. So after the last week, we had 2 big events, CCSAI Masquerade Gala Night and CCSAI Fest. So both of the event was very huge success. We had long lineups, and just we faced some problem at Masquerade Gala Night of a lot many students arriving, and we went out of the capacity. So to solve that problem, in the next event we had tickets for students just for $2, which was less than a coffee price. But just to solve the problem of capacity, we had that thing. And I had a lot many board members to support me. Brendan, Jam, Justin, Karan, Miguel, Karan, and all others who had believed that we will do it well. And thank you so much for being there. And thank you. They were very nice events. Oh yeah, and CCSA Fest also had the talent show, which we always do the Centennials Got Talent. And this time we had combined it with a concert style event. So once in the starting we had the talent show, and later on we had the DJ night, which also went very well. We had a lot many auditions done for it, like 6 auditions, and we had more than 30 participants for it. So it was a huge success, both events. Thank you.
Thank you, Simona. Question, comments? No? Okay, next, CSA updates from CSA President. Sorry. CSA Vice President, Mr. Lim. You never know.
CSA has been going through a lot of changes recently. It will be released soon to the incoming board of the daily procedure. That will change because we have to adapt into the current situation of the recent announcement. Additionally, the office is also looking at changing, making it mobile and going from one member school to another. We're also looking at, oh, fun fact, this is the scholarship where board members of CCSAI can actually win, except Gemini. So the last day for award nomination is tomorrow. The reminder was sent today by Olivia. So CCSAI can be nominated once again for Landmark. We won that actually last year. There's Advocate Award, and then Leadership Award was also won by CCSAI last year, and the Ted Bartlett Award was won by Jasima, which any board member can win. So please do that. When you win the scholarship, you're invited for Maycon, even though you're not a board member anymore. Lastly, if you're interested in joining the board, there is gonna be seminar for whoever wants to join the board. Like, so what do you expect for the incoming year? Yeah, that's it for me. If there's any questions.
Yeah.
Okay, through the chair to Mr. Lin, so can we nominate ourselves to any of these awards?
Yes.
Or has to be someone else?
Justine, how do you?
So it was it was a self-nomination. I did have to get kind of like I can't
Support.
find the word, yeah.
Letter?
Nomination.
Yeah, a support letter from someone on the board or like within the college, which it came from Sam. But yeah, you can nominate yourself, you can nominate other board members, doesn't matter.
I think recommending the Landmark Award for CCSA.
You can all nominate it, and then you have multiple nominations.
Whatever. Just to add, sorry, through the chair to the board, just to add on to what Justin was saying, I am sitting on the conference planning committee for Maycon coming up. I do have all of the information for Maycon, price, the hotel, the whatever. So I'm guessing next board meeting next week is when I will be talking about that with all of you guys. The deadline, with the incoming board, the deadline to apply for Maycon is quickly approaching. So,
April 19th.
no, I believe it was pushed. Yeah. But the deadline is quickly coming up, so I wanted all of you guys who will be returning. That'll go.
Oh, lastly, to your chair. Centennial College has been represented during the announcement of MPP Chris Glover, which is a good thing for our student association and our college being an active member and making sure that our college is well represented when it comes to discussion of like education and fees and all that. Yes, Mr. Casais.
To the chair, to Justin and Jem, could you provide a bit more details on the fee framework?
Can you pass this to Penny?
Through the chair to Mr. Casais. So the board has decided that it will not be 100% payout in the beginning. It will be, correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, 50% first, and then the remaining whoever has opted in. For example, 60% of our student opt in, then you only have to pay for 10%. If only 30 member, then you get a refund of 20%. So it's more flexible instead of like paying 89,000 at once, which is very harsh for student associations right now. The CSA is looking at how we can be more adaptable to students, reflective of the number provided by Ontario colleges. Yeah. And how many has opted in. Yes, sir.
Sam?
Thank you. Through the chair to Justin. Also, so I raised this, well, Curtis came for lunch the other day. So I raised this concern as well. I don't know if it was also like a board discussion for your board meeting. Reaching out to new or to non-member associations. So with this new fee framework, what this would require is for every member to have within their fees an advocacy fee or a call it whatever they want to call it. So we, for example, have the fee as a non-essential. So our fee is $6 and it's called student lobbying, right? So every member association needs to have this fee so that they can actually pay 50% and then balance out whatever depending on the opt-in or opt-out. If CSA wants to add members, so if CSA wants to reach out to non-members and say, hey, this is what we're offering, technically any student association that doesn't currently have a fee for this wouldn't be able to put in their fees through their fee protocol until next year if they wanted to. So that doesn't allow any new members to join CSA this year. Or that's my impression at least, right? Because if they don't have this fee to be able to put $50,000 or 50% down and then balance out, where are they going to get their money from, right?
So please correct me again if I'm wrong. The current billing cycle would be from May.
It's based, through the chair to the board, it's based on last year's,
Yeah, last
right,
year's
so
number.
it's May 1st, April 30th.
It's May 1st. So most student associations are not yet affected of the change until September. So you would still have that money from the current year. Although I'm not 100% sure how that's going to look like, I would convey that to the executive team and the board members for further discussion. But if you're asking for other new member schools, definitely our priority is to retain the current member that CSA has, as well as with trying to reach out to different non-member schools, just so that our advocacy voice is much bigger and much heard in the provincial level, and it's definitely going to be more valued.
John?
To chair to Justin, just a general question. Just want to ask, where does that money is being used that is collected from all the colleges?
So through the chair to Mr. saying, so just like a student association, it goes through the operation of the association itself, the salary of the workers. Board members don't
And that's
earn
what it
anything, so board members don't get money at all except for $75 every 4 months just for a phone bill, whatever. As well as for conferences. So the college student alliance pays a certain amount of the conference fee, so that because as a member you have that privilege of attending conferences. If you're not a non-member, you usually pay higher than what
A member pay.
It also goes through board development, so retreat, also advocating. So the travel, for example, a general manager and the board member need to travel to go to another college or student association, that is paid through the amount of money that the student associations pay. But most importantly, the money is used for advocating for student rights in the provincial level, and doing more of research when it comes to data that is needed by member schools.
So to Chair to Justin. So is there any, do they present these reports, financial reports to anyone, anywhere?
Definitely. So these reports are presented every plenary 4 times a year, by the president and the general manager as well as the board member every time there's a plenary meeting. I believe you were there last February for the plenary meeting at Conestoga, and you would have seen the financial statements that are presented. Because I just did the plenary report and I saw your name, so it would be usually in plenary meeting.
Is that also published anywhere? Or it's just
It is
Plenary
available
package.
to our member association.
okay?
Any other questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Nominate yourself so you can do everything.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lim. Next on the agenda is for the good of the board.
On time exactly.
We're not done yet.
Sam?
For the good of the board, I know this is not specific to this meeting, but this is our sort of last hand boom meeting. Like next meeting is more of a just ratifying the new board. We're gonna go through that agenda item that we didn't go through today, but this is our last
Just ourselves.
Huh?
Private.
Just ourselves.
yeah, just ourselves and just
Private.
hard meeting. We're still in
We
camera.
didn't have it.
Like filming.
Are we still in film?
We are filming. So, but yeah, I wanted to thank you all. It's been an amazing year, and I don't necessarily want to say goodbyes right now because I don't want everybody to
Right.
go into that mindset. But the 29th, I want to do something special. So, thank you, and
Thank you, everybody.
I will miss everyone.
Stop!
I feel like I will miss
Adjourn.
everyone.
Okay.
I feel it's the last day.
Yeah, yes, still. All right. So next meeting is April the 22nd at 4 p.m. It's going to take place in, if I'm not mistaken, Event Center. Are we doing the meeting there?
no, we're doing
No,
our
it'll be in the
boardroom.
boardroom.
Okay. So boardroom, and then we'll head over to Event Center for a year.
No, our main
No?
events hall.
All right. Okay. Main events, all it is. Thank you very much, everybody. Can somebody move the motion to adjourn? Randy,
Everybody got it.
seconded by
We
Miguel.
just waited for that.
It was Miguel.
Guys,
All in agreement? All in agreement? Disagreement? Okay. Meeting,
Abstention.
no abstention. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Where's the raffle prize? I haven't won anything.